Welcome to the Harper Classroom series of instructional videos. This how-to video is on MRP Part 3, End-Item MRP with a safety stock of 8. The MRP video series for material requirements planning is a 4-part series. This video is Part 3, where I look at 3 different MRPs for the fixed minimum and lot size discipline with a safety stock of 8. But since Part 2 had examples 1, 2, and 3, then Part 3 will have examples 4, 5, and 6. Example 4, a fixed lot size discipline with a safety stock of 8. I copy all the input and I color code it, and so this will not change, with a safety stock of 8 and a fixed lot size discipline with a fixed number of 12. So the first time period, I copy down the projected stock balance, which is the same as the ending inventory for this time period. I copy it down as the inventory on hand, and the inventory on hand is the same as the beginning inventory for this time period. Then the projected stock balance is going to be the inventory on hand plus the scheduled receipts minus the gross requirements equals our projected stock balance. There's the equation, and there's the calculation. So I carry this balance down as the inventory on hand for the next time period. I have no requirements. Inventory on hand carries over as the balance. I bring down the 16 as the inventory on hand for the next time period. And now I have a gross requirement of 13, which will come out of the 16, leaving 3. But I have a safety stock of 8. The safety stock is how much inventory you always carry to guard against stock out. Well, after the 13 comes out of the 16, I only have 3, so I need 5 more. So that will become our net requirements. So now our net requirements equation is a gross requirements plus safety stock minus inventory on hand, because our inventory on hand now has to satisfy the gross requirements and the safety stock. I compare the net requirements with the lot size discipline, which is fixed at 12, so our lot size then is 12. For the lead time of 2, I come back 2 and have a planned order release of 12, which will generate a planned receipt of 12. And so my projected stock balance now is inventory on hand plus my planned receipts minus my gross requirements leaves my balance of 15. I carry that over as the inventory on hand, but now I have a gross requirement of 53, safety stock of 8, inventory on hand of 15, so now my net requirement is going to be 46. I compare that with my fixed lot size discipline of 12, which I can only order 12, 24, 36, 48. 48 covers 46, so 48 becomes my lot size Q. Compare with my lead time 2, I come back 2 and have a planned order release of 48, which will generate a planned receipt of 48. My projected stock balance is the inventory on hand plus my receipts minus my requirements equals my balance. There's the equation, there's the calculations. The 10's carried over as the inventory on hand. There's no requirements, so the inventory on hand carries over as the balance. The balance is brought down as the inventory on hand. So now I have a gross requirement of 10, safety stock of 8, minus an inventory on hand of 10, leaves a net requirement of 8. That 8 is compared with my lot size discipline of 12, and so I need 8, so I order 12. My lead time of 2, I come back 2, I have a planned order release of 12, which would generate a planned receipt of 12. And now my projected stock balance is my inventory on hand plus my receipts minus my requirements equals my balance. That balance carries over as the inventory on hand, and 12 minus 3 is 9, which is more than 8, so I'm fine. Then the 9 carries over as my inventory on hand. There's no requirements, so it carries over as my balance, and so there's my MRP for this problem. And now I can generate my inventory policy, which is my planned order release row, because this tells me how much to order and when to order. Example 5 is a minimum lot size discipline with a safety stock of 8. Again, I've copied the input, safety stock of 8, and this time we have a minimum lot size discipline 12 plus. First time period. As before, the 25 as the balance is carried over as the inventory on hand. Our projected stock balance is our inventory on hand plus receipts minus gross requirements equals our balance of 16, which is carried over as our inventory on hand. No requirements, 16 carries over as a balance. Then 16 carries over as the inventory on hand. The net requirements, 13 plus 8 minus 16, is a net requirement of 5. We compare that with our minimum lot size discipline of 12. Well, since our net requirements is 5, our minimum lot size is 12, our lot size Q then becomes 12. Compare that with a lead time, come back 2, and have a planned order release of 12, which generates a planned receipt of 12. Our projected stock balance is our inventory on hand plus our planned receipts minus our gross requirements equals our projected stock balance. There's the equation and there's the calculations. The 15 is carried over as the inventory on hand. And for this time period, we have a gross requirement of 53, a safety stock of 8, minus the inventory on hand of 15, leaves a net requirement of 46. We compare that with our minimum lot size discipline. And so everything over 12 is lot for lot. Since 46 is more than 12, we order 46. Lead time of 2, we come back 2 and have a planned order release of 46, which would generate a planned receipt of 46. Our projected stock balance is our inventory on hand plus our planned receipts minus our requirements equals our balance of 8. That 8 carries over, but this time we have no requirements, and so the 8 carries over and our safety stock is satisfied, so no problem. When this 8 carries over as the inventory on hand, well, now we have a requirement of 10, a safety stock of 8, minus inventory on hand of 8, which generates a net requirement of 10. We compare 10 with our minimum lot size of 12, so we order 12. Lead time of 2, we come back 2 and have a planned order release of 12, which would generate a planned receipt of 12. And so our projected stock balance then will be our inventory on hand plus our receipts minus our requirements equals our projected stock balance of 10. That carries over as our inventory on hand. But now we have a gross requirement of 3, a safety stock of 8, minus an inventory on hand of 10, and that leaves a net requirement of 1. We compare that net requirement with our minimum lot size discipline of 12, and so we have to order 12. Comparing that with our lead time of 2, we come back 2 and have a planned order release of 12, and that will generate a planned receipt of 12. And now our projected stock balance then is our inventory on hand plus receipts minus requirements equals our balance. That carries over as inventory on hand. There's no requirements, so that carries over as our balance. So there's the MRP for this problem. And now our inventory policy is the planned order release row, because this tells us how much to order and when to order. Example 6 is a lot for lot size discipline with a safety stock of 8. Again, I copy the inputs, and this time we have a safety stock of 8 and an LFL, lot for lot size discipline. So for the first time period, as before, we bring down the 25 balance as inventory on hand. Our projected stock balance is our inventory on hand plus receipts minus requirements equals our balance. That carries down as our inventory on hand. No requirements, so the 16 carries over as a balance. And that comes down as the inventory on hand. And so for this time period, we have a gross requirement of 13, a safety stock of 8, minus an inventory on hand of 16, leaves a net requirement of 5. And now the first LFL rule. When we determine that first non-zero net requirement, the lot size is always equal to the net requirement. LFL rule number 2. Once we've determined that first lot size, then the projected stock balance from that period on is going to equal the safety stock. Well, now that we have our lot size, we compare with our lead time, come back to and have a planned order release, which will generate a planned receipt. But rule number 3 says once we've determined that first planned order release, then every planned order release after that equals the gross requirements shifted by the lead time. So the 3 LFL rules apply with a safety stock of 8 to generate the MRP for LFL very efficiently. All you have to do is calculate one number and everything else is determined. So now we can determine our inventory policy, which is our planned order release row, because this tells us how much to order and when to order. So this ends the how-to video MRP Part 3 End-Item MRP Safety Stock of 8. But this how-to video merely covers the mechanics of MRP. In class, I'll go into the concepts, applications, and extensions of MRP. But I hope this helps. Thanks for watching.